Welcome back to the ABCs of Politics and Culture. I haven't seen my co-host for a couple of days, and so there's no telling the mischief they've gotten themselves into. Charlie Meadows on my far left is a former county commissioner, the father of the Oklahoma Conservative Political Action Committee, and a successful activist who remembers more than I've ever heard in my entire life. A wealth of knowledge that I'm blessed to learn from. And next to me is Bob Donahue, the man whom I told him that his biggest fault was that he's too good. But that was before I started working with him. Just kidding. Bob is a stellar person or I wouldn't be here right now. He produces the show for us in between his trips to our capital, maneuvering to get our legislators to step up to the plate for Oklahoma values. I'm Aya Kelly, the one with the hair, and I love dogs of all varieties, including underdogs and most other people as well. An activist on many levels, my co-hosts would attest to the fact that I get myself into plenty of trouble even outside of their help.
Amen. Yep.
Today, we're joined by J. Stark Davis, a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, which means he has spent a good portion of his life flying around the world, solving problems and filling out government paperwork. His first assignment was at Tinker Air Force Base during the Reagan years, where he served as an airborne weapons director on the E-3 AWACS aircraft. From that airborne command center, Stark helped direct air operations while flying missions around the globe. His duties included tracking Soviet Bear bombers near Iceland, flying surveillance missions over Saudi Arabia during the Iran-Iraq War, and directing air combat exercises near Korea from, Okinawa.
There you go.
In other words, while most of us were worrying about our daily commute, Stark's commute occasionally involved Cold War bombers, and along the way, he served on the command staff for an AWACS wing commander and later worked at Tinker's 507th Tactical Fighter Group as executive officer over maintenance during the unit's transition from F-4 Phantoms to F-16s, because apparently guiding fighter squadrons through major aircraft changes sounded like a relaxing assignment. His final Air Force Reserve assignment brought him back to where it all began, the Air Force Academy, where he served as the admissions liaison officer director for Oklahoma, helping guide future cadets into the same adventure he had started years earlier. And as if that weren't enough to keep someone busy, Stark also earned a law degree from Oklahoma City University while serving in the Air Force Reserves and built a private new practice. Not stopping there, he completed a ministry degree from Oklahoma Christian University and served as youth and family minister in Oklahoma. In retirement, he continued mentoring the next generation as the senior Air Force JROTC instructor at Choctaw High School. Stark is also the author of 2 books, All as One, a biblical-based approach to Christian unity and integrity first, America's desperate need for leaders with strong moral courage. He and his wife, Julie, a native Choctaw, have been married for 37 years. Together, they have 4 children and 8 grandchildren, which means that after decades of directing aircraft and advising leaders, Stark now spends a lot of his time directing grandchildren, a mission widely considered more challenging. Please join me in welcoming attorney J. Stark Davis.
37 years of marriage.
Stark.
It's all good.
I thought I'd been busy in my life. I'm so tired. I want to go take a nap just listening to all the things that you've done.
Well,
welcome to the program.
Thank you, God. Yeah, God's been good. So any good in that goes to God's glory for sure.
So Stark, one of the reasons we asked you here is I know you. I've gotten to know you fairly well over the last few months, and you have a grave concern for the future of this country. And I'm not saying this is the only thing, but much of it is wrapped around the $38.5 trillion of our national debt. And, even years ago, I was concerned about the national debt. And I found out that the federal government's been able to manipulate that much longer than having to eventually pay the price to the piper. And so we've heard this for years, and we haven't had the collapse. But we're getting really close to a level now that there's, if we don't do something about it, almost no point of return. And so why don't you share with us, and you are considering a run for the U.S. Representative seat number 5, currently held by Stephanie Bice. Now, we have, of our 5 U.S. representatives, we have 2 that are very conservative, and 1 is getting ready to become our new U.S. Senator to replace Mark Wayne Mullen, that being Kevin Hearn. But our other 3 lifers, that's what I like to call Tom Cole, Frank Lucas, and now Stephanie Bice. Our other 3 lifers are big spenders. It's just that simple. They're big spenders. They're not dealing with this issue. I think maybe it could be said that they care more about putting a lot of money into certain places in their districts so they can be reelected all the time. And that's not what's the best thing for the state of Oklahoma. So take it from there, Stark, and share your concerns and what you intend to do.
Well, as a reminder, most of us know the executive branch is in the business of spending money. When I was in the Air Force, we would fly actively. We got even more active the end of every fiscal year because we're trying to spend all the Air Force's money so they can ask for a bunch more money. And that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, you believe in your
They're
agency.
trying to teach me not to bang on the table.
Thank you.
So if you can do
Keep
that.
my hands down. So the agencies are going for more federal funding. That's what they're supposed to do. And our executive branch is really good at that. Our president's good at that. And that's kind of his job. But the Congress's job, by the Constitution, is to be a check and balance on those other branches, to be a check and balance on the executive branch. So just because the executive branch wants to do all these wonderful things doesn't mean we have the money for that. And so someone needs to be the adult in the room to look at the budget. I think we still have a lot of money there. We have about $5 trillion in revenues every year to do a lot of good things. I think we could accomplish what our president and our other leadership wants that are good, positive things to do. But to be spending about $2 trillion over our revenues every year, the 5 years that Stephanie Bice has been up there, they've consistently overspent it by about $1.8 trillion every year above their revenues. And so that's going into the debt. The debt, as you said, is now over $38 trillion. And it's a concern, especially another element of that is the amount we spend to service that debt is now almost $1 trillion.
Yes.
And it's just so hard to get your head around $1 trillion, but that's what we're paying just to service the debt. So most of us as taxpayers, the last thing we want is our money just wasted to service the debt. We would like to maybe do positive things, have a good, strong military, have some infrastructure.
Right.
There's a lot we could do other than spending $1 trillion to service the debt, a lot of which is going to China. I mean, billions of that's going to one of our biggest enemies, which is China. So to carry that much debt, most of us know that's just it's not wise. It's dangerous to our country. It's a waste to service that amount of debt. So we haven't made a payment on that for 70 years, since Eisenhower. So we haven't had strong leadership in the Congress to actually make payments on that debt. So my biggest criticism is one of leadership. We haven't had the strength of leaders to say, look, we've got to have Congress doing their job, where just because the executive branch wants all this money doesn't mean we can spend all that money. I mean, the House had the majority even during the Biden years, and they still spent all this money. So the debt has increased. There's no attempt, no plan to turn that around. So I think we need things like line item subject-based budgeting to get a hold of our budgets, stop spending more than we have, actually make payments on that debt. The more aggressively we pay that debt, the sooner we can actually have some funds. Even 5% of that, even 5% of $1 trillion is $50 billion. That's $1 billion for every state for infrastructure. That's 1,000 millions for every state. And our congressmen celebrate, $200, $300 million for Tinker and for some infrastructure. But if they really got aggressive paying down the debt, just 5% of that trillion is $50 billion. Yeah. And 1/50th of that is $1 billion for every state, and $1 billion is 1,000 millions. That gives you some idea of how much money that we're paying just to service the debt. Yeah. So it needs to change.
$1 trillion is 1,000 billion.
That's right. That's right. So 1/10 of that is 100 billions. A half of that is 50 billion.
Yeah.
And divide that by 50 states. I mean, there's a lot you could do with 1,000 millions.
Yeah.
So if we want to do some good for Oklahoma, let's be aggressive, pay down the debt. And there's so much waste and fraud and abuse. We see every month more wasteful spending that comes up from some report about, billion wasted here, or there's this fraud, or from the Somali report to California's report. Every state's got this massive amount of fraud. And so the way you correct that, it doesn't do it good to have a law if you don't enforce the law. So you need DOJ, our Department of Justice, actively,
That's a novel idea.
actively enforcing the law, putting people in jail if need be to enforce the law. I mean, if you get a speed limit and you never enforce it, people just get speed like crazy.
Sure.
And that's what's happened with our budget.
I like
People
that
just,
idea.
I mean, a lot of us that like fast cars, we do like that, yeah. But for spending money, I mean, it's just irresponsible. I mean, I think the members of Congress can't see the forest for the trees, and the forest is on fire. I mean, we're burning money every year to the tune of $1 trillion. It's just money, you might as well burn it. I mean, it's just going to interest. But if you would pay down the debt and be responsible in your spending, which is going to take, some discipline and leadership, and get people with you, then I think we could turn that boat around. Yeah.
I'm going to share a statistic that very few Americans understand. It took this nation 206 years, from 1776 to 1982, to reach the first $1 trillion in national debt. Mm-hmm. During that time, we financed World War I, World War II, we rebuilt Germany, we rebuilt Japan. Mm-hmm. And so it took all that period of time. And so from 1982 to today, which is about 40 years, something like that. I don't want to tax my brain that hard to figure that out. We've jumped it up to $38.5 trillion. The interest on our national debt is what we have, basically the same thing we've been spending for our military to finance our military. Now that's going to go up some.
It's a little over that now.
Yeah,
actually.
it's a little over that now. But it is a serious problem. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell you something. The wars and things like that are not the real driver for this debt. There's a number of years ago here in Guthrie, we built a new fire station here. And Jim Inhofe was one of our two senators at the time. Mm-hmm. And when they built this new fire department, they failed to put an exhaust system in. If you were going to run your fire trucks while it was with the doors closed in the wintertime, they failed to put a system in to take the exhaust outside of the building. So they applied for an $80,000 grant to do that. And Jim was in the papers and he was so happy to do this. I'm sorry, that's not a federal government issue. You won't find anywhere in the U.S. Constitution the responsibility of the federal government to pay $80,000. And see, that's just one tiny little small thing. There are jillions of grants, organizations that want things that are not a part of the function of the federal government at all. That's what has us in more trouble than anything else. We've got to somehow educate the public, and we've got to help them understand we are slowly cutting our own throats by doing this. And we've got to start encouraging our U.S. representatives and our senators to become very focused on cutting as much government spending. Some of it's fraud, some of it's waste, some of it's just absolutely improper functions of the federal government.
That's correct.
According to our U.S. Constitution.
I guess we all kind of lean on our history because that's what we know. So I refer back to growing up in another country. And even as a child, the day I left, I turned 13. So I was a child. I would comment to my parents how the United States helps every other country. And those countries never reciprocate. And I mean never. And again, best case scenario, Japan, right? It's an ally, it's a great country, and we help them. And then in moments, they're very ungrateful. In times of need, they're extremely grateful, kind of like the Israelites, But we see this where, again, there's no reciprocation. When we have natural disasters here, you don't see people flooding from these wealthy countries to come help America. Yet when there's natural disasters, we spend oodles of money to run around saving everyone from themselves. And I have seen our president kind of try to put some skids on that, but when you've done that for so many years, it becomes difficult. But I just imagine that if a child could see this, why can't our educated, experienced adults that we vote and put our trust in to send to DC, why can't they see that?
I think part of the problem is you've got a Congress that we know is bad. Yeah. Everybody knows Congress doesn't do its job. I mean, they're weak. They spend money like crap. And we all are frustrated with Congress. I mean, most Americans are definitely frustrated with Congress not doing what they're supposed to do. But we don't realize that the representatives we spend to Congress, our congressmen and women, they're the ones that just keep spending the money. They're the ones that keep being in this system.
We're the ones that send them up.
Yeah, and we just keep voting them, and we think they're wonderful people. I mean, it reminds me how most people say, "Well, only good lawyers you're a lawyer," but sometimes you have to be careful about that. But we're that way about our members of Congress. I mean, we think Congress is so terrible, but there's a lot. I mean, Stephanie Bice has a lot of things you can like about her. She's nice. She's done some good things. She's a good person. She speaks our language. She sings our song. But you got to look at the leadership. You got to look at what they're doing. You got to look at the actual facts. And facts are stubborn things. And the fact is, she's a part of Congress that's passing all this spending that's driven this 1.8 trillion more than what we have in revenues in this debt that just is increasing every second with no leadership whatsoever to make any shift to that and to turn that boat around. So you got to realize the reason why it keeps happening is because we keep sending the same people to Congress.
So you are considering.
I'm considering. I have a metric that's. I mean, it's a long shot. Don't know that I'll make that. I mean, I'm looking for. It needs to be of the people, by the people, for the people. So I'm looking for a number of people that come along. I've got more every day that are coming along helping me, and I'm looking for even 1,000 people at $100 each. And if I can get to that metric, I would run. But to get to that metric is pretty difficult, quite frankly. I'm not on the trajectory to do that. So this may be something.
And you only have until Friday.
We got just a few days left. But yeah.
Oh, this Friday?
This week.
Yeah.
That's
so
what is the last day for filing?
So I'm not going to open up the website till I know I'm running, and that's when I would actually collect the pledges. So I haven't opened the website yet. So really to contact me, I mean, my cell number is.
So you're just taking verbal.
Yeah, I've got a spreadsheet. I've got a commitment. I've got text messages. I don't want. No, I just want pledges, and so I've got that all in a system. But I've got, I'm on X. I'm on True Social. You can find me Stark Davis USA. But I'm mainly talking with. I'm just using my phone. I mean, my cell is 405-476-3336. And if people are just calling me and texting me and say, yeah, I'd like to know more about what's going on, or here's where you count me in, here's my support for you. So it's very much grassroots. And it's very much just people that have networking, that have contacts, as you all have done. Just let people know, hey, here's Stark Davis.
I've got a lot of friends in Texas that might want to help you.
No, only Oklahomans. Only Oklahomans.
You're not going to take money outside the state?
No, and I think there should be laws to that effect, but there's not. So we can voluntarily do that. And I think if we're going to represent Oklahoma, it should be only Oklahoma money. And, of course, Stephanie Bice and other members of Congress, a lot of the problem is a lot of their money is outside of Oklahoma.
Now, I want to stop you right there. Because I have told people repeatedly that, I ran for Senate for District 20. Mm-hmm. If I became a senator for District 20, my Senate seat affects this entire state.
Right.
When we have Congress people that go to D.C., those votes affect the entire country. There's people sick all over the country of the continuous votes against we the people.
Right.
And so obviously we have till Friday, and I would ask that you would consider that.
Right.
But I want to back up a little bit to what you said about the language and the song. It really stood out to me because as a person who's come in not nearly as long as these two gentlemen have been working as activists, and I've learned so much from them. But I'm much younger, as you can tell.
Yes.
But
and it shows.
Continuously, they come in front of us and they speak our language. I got pumped up by Hillary Clinton. I'm not gonna lie. She's a great speaker. Maybe because she's an attorney, but she's a great speaker, and she knows what to say, and she knows how to twist us around to think that she's great. And this is the problem with politicians once they've been in for, a few months. They've got the language. They can vote like that, and they can come in front of us right here in Logan County and give a speech where everyone's rah-rahing, and it is absolutely not, their voting record is absolutely not what they're living outside of that speech.
Yeah, and to your point, if you do follow the money, you'll see who's influencing them. Right. You'll see, if you see where they are getting their money, it could be from all over the place, but their money will tell you how they're being influenced. And I think most anybody that understands that and knows the amount of money that congressmen receive, whether it's directly or through, the dark money or through the lobbyists or through the investments that they get, ahead of time, or the investment problem. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, how do you go into Congress with $5 million and come out with $400 million? I mean,
it's called public servant.
It's just so wrong. It's just so wrong, and it should be the opposite of that. So I think we have to be wise about how these members of Congress are being influenced, and that's where it has to just be volunteer, because I think there are a few leaders, and I think leadership is like the leadership of Christ. You start out with just a few that are close to you. You get that 12, and then those 12 can change the world. In this case, if you get, Josh Burkeen and I are going to share a lot of the same values. So if the dream ever happened and I could get to Congress, Josh Burkeen and I would be leaders out of the same, clothing. We would be doing the same kind of things.
You might join the Freedom Caucus?
I might join that. Absolutely. I mean, so you get that 10 or 12, and then they can change 15 or 20. You can really change the boat. And again, I in the Biden years, we had a majority in the House. We could have shut down so many things if the House would have just said, in a stark way, if they would have just said, look, if they just shut down everything but the military and Social Security, take care of our seniors, maybe some of the poorer elements, but just those. Just those fundamentals. If they, just pay the fundamental things. And then if the Senate wants to shut it down, say, well, it's the Senate shutting down the military and shutting down Social Security and shutting down the things we have to pay. But otherwise, the House could have took a stand. Yeah. And they did very little of that, even in the Biden years. We're spending.
And the reality is it's really, unfortunately, going to take longer years than what we would hope, because there are a lot of people that live on the government teat. I'm sorry. And you start cutting that off, and there will be people motivated to make sure you don't ever serve any longer in Congress. So it's got to... And you've got to convince people, it's a little bit painful. Right. I used to tell people, the longer we wait to deal with this, the more painful it's going to be. Yeah. And but if we can get enough of the American public to buy into this, that are willing, Dave Ramsey, for example, has probably got around 7 million people completely out of debt. Right. And once you're completely out of debt, then he puts you on the path to become a millionaire. And but this is his method of it. He doesn't care what the interest rate on the loan is. He wants you to do the smallest loan first. Focus on that one. When you get that one done, then all the money you were paying on that, you work on the next one. Right. Well, what happens as you start to see that, you get motivated, and you'll go get another extra job or whatever it is, and you really concentrate on that, and you get that done. Right. And somehow that's what we've got to try to urge people to do, that there's honor, there's self-worth and honor in working hard and taking care of yourself. Right. And if you're on government welfare right now, your goal ought to be to get off of it. Yeah. And you know what? It seems like when I look at Oklahoma and I look at Oklahomans, I know that there's some that are dependent upon government, but I'm just, it seems like what I see, and those that are politically active and care enough to get involved in our country's, government and public service, and vote, have cars, have houses, have jobs, have families. They know the value of having an income and getting on their own 2 feet and providing for their families and having success in our free enterprise capitalistic system. You can do that in America, and most people figure out a way to do that. Yeah. Now there's some that don't, but I think those Oklahomans know the fundamentals. Well, look, just
just do what you're supposed to do. You have a good income, pay off your debts, get on your feet, take care of your family, and let government do their fundamental role, which is like a referee in a ball game. Make sure we're safe, make sure we don't get hurt, make sure there's safety, but let people compete. Let people go out there and be successul.
All right, allow me to jump in. It's okay,
Sure.
Charlie. We're going to come back to debt. But Stark, I want to make sure you have plenty of opportunity to bring up any other topics that you want to focus on as a congressman.
Well, I think that the things that just stare us in the face, if you're paying attention to what Congress is doing, is one of their primary jobs is to power the purse. The way they influence policy, they can cut a whole policy, they can fund a whole policy. So the funding and the overspending and the debt and the fact that there's so much waste is big. I mean, as a Christian, and a guy who's followed, Abraham Lincoln, I think, Declaration of Independence had all men are created equal. It took 70 years for someone to finally have the courage to take a stand that you should not own another human being. Well, and so it's wrong, and Lincoln really crossed that bridge where it's wrong for one state to be free and one state to be slave. Well, as a Christian, I'm in the same place with pro-life. I think it's wrong for one state to be pro-abortion and one state to be pro-life. So I think it's time, if you really care and you say you're pro-life, I think you've got to cross that bridge and say, look, it's wrong for one state to have abortions and kill innocent children, and so we need a national stand like Lincoln did, and like whether it's a Supreme Court case or a law or a constitutional amendment, but to say, look, a baby from conception is a human being. We all know when two people sleep together and they have a child, it's a human being. And so that human being should be protected. Now, like any other human being, if that human being is threatening the life of another, then that other person may have some rights of self-defense. But otherwise, it's a human being.
Yeah.
And so most in Oklahoma, I think, really believe that. Most of us are Christians. We know those are babies in the womb from our biblical, history and just from facts. I mean, it's a human being from conception. So that is one thing I'd like to say is we need leadership to not just say I'm pro-life, but I think we need to take a stand for life.
Put energy into it.
Yeah, and as far as our military, I mean, it's a hot topic right now. We have a lot of fractures in the Republican Party over that. If you do the history of when we've really had a strong impact on foreign wars, whether it's First, Second World War or Korea, South Korea is the last one we won. We had 50 plus nations with us. Now that took a lot of the burden off us financially and with troops and all, but we really won that war for South Korea. There's a free South Korea right now. So the recipe for success isn't just throwing more money at Ukraine or Iran. It's getting 50 plus nations with you to share that burden and to say, look, if we want to really have success in Iran, in Ukraine, well, let's not do it by ourselves. And we failed in both Vietnam and Afghanistan because we're doing that pretty much by ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're there for forever, 10, 12 years, and Americans die. We had a clear enemy.
Iraq.
But the politicians just didn't do their job. And so at any rate, I just think that the leadership would be, and President Trump's trying to do this. He's getting, every day you hear more nations that are coming alongside. But if you want to be successful, get a lot of nations with you. And so it's not all Americans spending billions and billions of dollars and putting lives at stake, but get 50 plus nations with you like we did in Korea. That's when we won. And we have a wonderful government in South Korea that's not a threat to anyone. And that's what we want in those countries. So those are some key leadership areas.
Okay.
Stark, I believe that our two greatest threats to this nation, I call them existential threats, are our runaway debt and the threat from communist China.
Right.
And one thing I will say for President Trump, that he's worked to get Japan and Australia and some others to be willing to stand up to communist China should they try to attack Formosa or Taiwan is what what we refer to it today, and Taiwan is very important. Most of the valuable chips that we get come from there, and so places like South Korea and every ally that we have in that region, they need to make a commitment. All of us stand together, because I'll tell you, there's no doubt in my mind that communist China would want hegemony in at least that area. I believe they want to rule the world myself.
If you have any question about China as being dangerous, I have one word for you. It's COVID. I mean, they're just dangerous. They're going to look for every opportunity they have to bring us down. You know, every opportunity they have. So they're a major threat. And so the more we're together with people that know the value of freedom, then the more we can overcome that threat.
And you know, I listened to, excuse me, Bob, one last thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I listened to Fox Business quite a bit, and Maria Bartiromo it continually harps on this, that many communist Chinese countries trade on our stock exchange here. And she believes that our Congress needs to stop that. We need to, because we're actually, in many cases, helping to fund our own destruction there.
Right.
Yeah, we are. We are.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, good point, though, Charlie. I'm glad you made it. Stark, the going back to the debt for a moment. Okay, we don't have an asset-based currency right now. We have a debt-based currency, meaning that the greater the debt, the better the economy feels. Okay, so if the national government, no great news here. This is no shock for anybody. If the national government would reduce its spending per se, okay, because it reduces its borrowing, our economy would actually shrink. And a lot of people would feel that pain. And I would dare say, really to Aya's point, few people understand that reality, that concept of how the economics works. I would anticipate that you as a congressman would somehow or another, before we really get serious about doing exactly that, that needs to be marketed and well understood by the American public. Otherwise, you won't get the support. You're just going to get thrown out of office.
Yeah,
right?
And I think Trump tries to wrestle with that because he knows the value of bringing businesses to America. That we can, if we can get to where people, these corporations that want to make profit, stop going to these other countries to get slave labor, basically, to get products cheaper, but bring it back to America. Because if we're growing as an economy and we're putting money into the system, then I think it's easier for government to decrease their share of that economy.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So if the government decreases its share, private sector increases its share of the economy. The idea is that pain of reducing the national debt, the sovereign debt, okay, would be less. Is that the idea? Okay.
In fact, through Doge and some other things, we've actually reduced the number of government workers since Trump has been in office, and much of the growth in the workplace has come in the private sector, which is exactly where you want it to come.
Right.
And of course, the power of tariffs, before the Supreme Court limited that to some degree, was the tool that Trump was using to try to reestablish in this country the manufacturing that we are desperately dependent upon. We let ourselves get dependent upon many things that are made in China that, I mean, it's serious now. He's making those changes. It takes time.
And to your point, if we really had money that could be directed, or our federal government could help us in infrastructure, so federally funded, like to really help our highway system and roads and technology, I mean, that can be beneficial for our commerce. And it is money that can be used in its proper capacity from the government to help us. So I think we can find that balance. But you're right, it needs to be, the government has an opportunity to be a part of the economy, but it shouldn't be as big as it is.
It has definitely grown in a significant role. The bonding of the private and public sectors over the last several decades has put us in quite the spot. But on the other hand, we do have to work on it. We do need to figure out how to unravel it.
Right.
And I thoroughly appreciate your devotion to doing that.
Right.
We have to find that solution.
Yeah.
But again, marketing that, explaining that to the American public so that people would support it. Why do I think that's even bigger challenge than reducing the debt? Because that is, it's going to impact a lot of people. It's, I'm rambling now.
Okay,
So we'll
it's good. It's good points.
I've been trying to find an article that I came across a while ago about Vice, and I'll keep looking for that. But one of the things, just going back to her job that she's done for us in D.C., I was disappointed in the January 6th commission vote, for one thing. And a freedom that is ours at our White House or the Capitol in DC to be there to let our voices be heard was stamped out that day.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed in the people who voted for that commission, and Ms. Bice was one of those. And I know that you've done research on this, obviously, or you wouldn't be considering this run. How do you feel about some of those things outside of the budget?
Well, I mean, certainly one of the things that is home for me is the military has been, during the Biden administration, when the Republicans had the House, the military was funding abortions. They were funding sex change operations, elective surgeries.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of immorality that's happened. And when the Republicans were on watch, and they could have just cut spending for that and just ended a lot of that. And that hasn't happened since finally Trump comes in and has some strong leadership. So there's that element. Again, the whole idea of the CRs, I know it goes to the budget, but we just kick the can down the road. We have these continuing resolutions. And again, if you would have line item subject base where the members of Congress have to actually look at every item of spend, even if it's a big, beautiful bill, that's fine. But let's look at every line item, because in that line item is all kinds of stuff that goes beyond just budget, but it goes to morality and principles and how do we spend money? Is it even right for government to do that? But it puts those members of Congress on the line to say, for every one of these line items, now they'd have to work more than 2 days a week to do that. They'd have to actually work maybe 4 days a week or 5 days a week, or like most of us
work. You have to read the bills.
Yeah, most of us are working 6 days a week. But half of our Congress, men and women's time is spent, trying to basically be politicians. But my primary job is to take care of that spending, because there's so much of these policies that go beyond just finance. But we're financing China. We're financing our enemies and terrorism.
Yeah,
you look at where the money's going and some of the Somalis and stuff. And so you have to go to the line items, because follow the money, and that's what we're supporting. And our members of Congress, it's blackmail to get the few millions they want. They pass billions in spending for these other states. And so those are the things that we have to have leadership on. And you're not leading if you're by yourself. You can't be a master that's out there by yourself. You have to have people with you. Right. So you have to bring people along board, people like Josh Burkeen and others that think like you.
Try to convince your colleagues.
You're leading. And that's what's so beautiful.
That's what leadership is.
Yeah, that's what Lincoln's such a great example of. He made his case for freedom, with his debates against Douglas. And you got to make the case and bring people on side along with you.
And that, a little bit off the topic, we do have some people that are kind of elevated and lifted up who've served in our legislature, but one of the things that they're kind of bragged on is that they had this stance, but when you look at it, they did it all by themselves. They were off in a corner in their office with the door shut, which I understand the different concepts of that too, but one of the jobs that we need the legislature to do is to gather up people, give them the courage to step up, because some people can't do it by themselves. They need someone to drag them along. And that's what we need. We don't need someone to just go in and say, I voted 100% and I did this. We need people to encourage, and then that's part of our job too, I say, is to hold our legislators that we've elected, that we're paying, hold their feet to the fire.
It's a vision and leadership problem. Look at where this Congress leads us, and we all know it's bad. Where they're leading us, whether it's debt or these policies or their lack of ability to hold, our executive branch accountable in ways, where they're leading us is a bad direction. So you have to have visionaries and leaders to say, let's go a different direction. Let's stop spending more money than we have every year. Let's actually make payments on the debt. Let's have line item subject-based spending. Let's take care of these moral elements. So, it takes leaders that will get people with them.
What organization, what household, what company, what business operates like this?
I know.
All right, we're at the close.
We need to switch gears here to another issue.
But just one quick comment or ask. How do people get in touch with you again to join the 1,000?
Yeah, and I really do appreciate that. Just old-fashioned grassroots.
You don't want money right now.
I just want to pledge. It's my cell, and you can just text me. It's a people's movement, but I'm not giving that many calls. So that's why I'm not on a trajectory. But you can just text me 405-476, like 1976, 476, and then 3336. That's the easiest way. Or you can find me on Truth or X at Stark Davis USA.
And where can we get your books?
The books are on Amazon. Definitely the All Is One. It was about a long time. You can find it on Amazon, but more you can. The newer book, The Integrity First, is on Amazon.
And what I love about that is while some of you haven't gotten to meet Stark and you haven't gotten to vet him like I like to do myself, you can purchase those books and learn a whole lot about this guy by reading those books.
And that's probably why I'm not on Facebook, is I take such a strong pro-life stand, and I have a chapter, What is a Woman? And that's the only reason why Facebook's not even letting me have a page right now, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry